Good afternoon, brethren. Happy Sabbath. A good day to be in the house of the Lord, ain't it? Mm-hmm. I just want to say before I get into the message, I got to thank God for his healing powers because in the case of my eye, he not only healed, he restored because the vision is actually better in the eye that was damaged, not in the one that wasn't damaged. So don't we serve a great God? Mm-hmm. Okay. I also want to point out that last week, Pastor very eloquently thanked the Father for his healing of my eye. And thank you for that, Pastor. But he went on to poke fun at me after that because when I came in, I wear my glasses, they go dark when you're outside. So he thought I still was wearing the dark glasses but he didn't recognize that these was my prescription glasses. So he went on to say that God is blessing this brother because when I get my glasses, I can't afford the glasses he got. Mm-hmm. But this man is blessed in his own right because I want to point out something. This is my sermon here in this folder. Watch how when he do his next sermon, that piece of state-of-the-art equipment he walk up here with. So somebody bless. So this brother is blessed in his own right. And I know I'm going to pay for that. But okay. I just want to start off with a little hypothetical situation. Say Pastor told us one time when he doing the announcement that he want to take up a collection because the refrigerator in the kitchen went out. So I come to him and I say, you know what, Pastor, my baby been wanting the refrigerator with the computer on the screen and the little ice maker, so I'm going to go ahead and buy that for her. And y'all welcome to the refrigerator that we got there. It still works fine. So Pastor say, okay, that's fine. Take the refrigerator, put it in the kitchen, and when Dinah comes to clean up that week, she called Pastor and say, Pastor, there's water all over the floor, that refrigerator leaking. And some of the food in there is spoiled because the door didn't close. It was ajar. So Pastor called me and said, Charles, did you know that refrigerator leaks? I said, oh, yeah, I forgot to tell you that. The coils leak. You know, he said, and you know, the door is messed up. Some of the food is spoiled because the door wouldn't close correct. I said, oh, yeah, I forgot to tell you that, too. You got to jiggle the door around a little bit and get it in to get it to catch. You know, so he say, so why didn't you tell me that before you gave me this refrigerator? No, but my point is we was obviously getting rid of that refrigerator because we was tired of having to mop up the water every day in our home and sick of having to jiggle it around. So if it wasn't good enough for our home, why is it good enough for God's home? So the title of my message is Stop Holding Back on God. Mm-hmm. Brother Rob, I'm going to start out in Hebrews 10, verse 25. Then all the tribes of, no, that's Samuel. Hebrews 10:25. Not forsaking assembling ourselves together, as in the manner of some, but exhorting one another, and not so much as more as you see the day approaching. Now, I had a problem with this when I first started going to church. I used to come up with every reason I could. I really wanted to go. But the least little excuse I would use not to go to church. Basically, whatever the weather was, that would determine whether I was going to church. If it was raining outside, when I woke up, I said, oh, shoot, I'm not going to church. It's raining. You know, if it was snowing, I woke up and there was a couple inches of snow out there, I'm good. I'm staying in today. It's snowing. Frigid cold, oh, it's too cold to go to church. I would even, if it was even sweltering heat, I would say, oh, it's too hot to be sitting up in that church, and I would stay at home. See, and my brother Chris testified about how he played hooky, but at least he did something for God while he was at home. That wasn't what I did. When I stayed at home, I'm on Sports Center, ESPN. I'm watching the clock because my Browns kick off at 1 o'clock because I was going to church on Sunday then. The Sabbath hadn't been revealed to me yet. But it shouldn't matter if that's the day I had set aside to worship God. Because if I can't be true to Sunday worship, I'm not going to be true to Sabbath worship. So it was something in me that I had to work out. So what I did, I had to realize that I didn't never forsake the assembly of my coworkers. I was going to work and get that paycheck. I don't care how hard it was raining. It could be a monsoon outside. But I would remember that I got an umbrella in my closet, to go get that money. Snow outside, it could be a storm. I got a shovel and I got a snow brush to clean off my car and go on to work. That ice cold, didn't matter. I got plenty of layers of clothes to put on and go on right to my car. And I also got a remote start to start it up so I don't even have to get in a cold car. And that sweltering heat, they got an ice machine at the factory. I'm cool. I'm going for that. So I had to come to terms that if all these things don't stop me from going to work, it shouldn't stop me from going to church and blessing the God that gave me the job in the first place. Mm-hmm. Amen. Amen. Leviticus 27:30, please, Rob. 27:30, brother. And all the tithes of the land, whether seed or land or the fruit of the tree, is the Lord's, and it's holy unto him. Now, we're supposed to give a tenth of all of our wealth to the Lord. At this time, we lived off the land. So we gave the Lord a tenth of our fruit, the seed, whatever we got from the land, from his blessing of rain and sunshine. Now, in this time, the land that we live off, that he blessed us with, is our jobs, our employment. And I had an issue with this, too. I would give an offering, but I didn't want to give a tithe. Sometimes I would even get a tithe envelope and an offering envelope, but I still wasn't fully tithing. If my check was $900, $1,000, I would say, I can't give that much money. That's too much money to give. I give $25. So I would take and put a $10 bill in the offering envelope and $15 in the tithe envelope. This was like a couple years before I met Judith. So when she started going to church with me, she just happened to notice one day and looked over and said, that's not a tithe you're giving, don't you? She seen what I was putting in the envelope. And I said, yeah, but I like to give an offering and a tithe. And she said, but if you add that all up together, you're still not tithing. So you might as well just put all that in the one envelope and give it as an offering. And it took me a while to come around to, if God blessed me with this, I shouldn't have a problem giving him 10%. That's only $1 for every 10 he blesses us with. So I put a scenario together. I said if I was trying to buy a house at $400,000, and when I went to see that realtor, he said, that house is yours. He said, after 220 payments of $1,800 a month, that house is yours. And then he called me back and he said, you know what, brother, I'm the pastor of the church too, along with this job. And it's something about your spirit that made me want to do something for you that I ain't never done for anybody before. He said, I'm thinking about giving you this house for 10% of what it's worth, for $40,000. If that was to happen, I would be so glad to pay that man that $40,000 that I'd probably go and take out a loan. So why would I have a problem giving 10% of that to the person who blessed me with 100% of my income? Mm-hmm. Okay. Matthew 23:23. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you pay a tithe of mint and anise and cumin, and neglected the weightier matters of the law, justice, mercy, and faith. These you ought to have done without leaving any others undone. Now see, it don't matter how much money I give to the church if I don't have no mercy and compassion for my brother. I can put $10,000 in an envelope, but if I go out and walk right past somebody on the street that's genuinely hungry with no compassion, it don't mean nothing. I'm not getting no blessings from God for that, because everything I'm doing is for my own benefit, to make myself look good. Amen. Matthew 6:1-2, Brother Rob. Take heed that you do your charitable deeds not before men. Take heed that you do not do your charitable deeds before men, to be seen by them. Otherwise, you have no reward from your Father in heaven. Now, if you notice, we in a election year right now. So you might go somewhere like the mall or the store or something, and there might be somebody standing outside from somebody's campaign, and they're giving out little brochures with everything that they're running for and what they stand for. And attached to it might be something like a pair of mittens, a pair of gloves, a scarf or something. And they giving them out like that. So you say, wow, that was really nice of him to do. And you go back the next year with a friend that same time next year who need gloves and hats and say, hey, it's a guy to be passing these things out at this mall every year. So don't spend no money. I'm going to take you there. You go back, and he's not there that year. So you go the next day, he's not there again. And again, you go back the next week, he's not there. So he's not going to be there because he wasn't doing that out of the goodness of his heart. He was doing that because he wanted something from you in return. He wanted your vote. And now that you got your vote, he don't need to be there no more. So things, me and Judith, we like to do things, charitable things, but we don't need an audience for it. I had a cousin that he used to drive me crazy on Facebook. It's some kind of reward that you get, but you get like 1 million likes. And he used to always be, go on Facebook and like my post, like my post, like my post. He used to drive me crazy. I hate to say it, but I had to block him because he was driving me crazy. And it was for his benefit. Now, the things me and Judith do is that we could go live on Facebook with this and show the things we do. But we don't need to because we don't need the world's praise. Because the things we do out of genuine love. Because we love our families. We love our church family. We love our neighbors. So the only reward we need is that from God. We don't need a Facebook like. Thank you. Matthew 7:2-3, Brother Rob. For with what judgment you judge, you would be judged. And with the measure you use it would be measured back to you. Now, say I got a situation at work. My boss, he really value my opinion. So he called me in the office and asked me, what you think I should do about this employee? They've been late like every day for the last 3 weeks. So I asked him, well, what's their reason for being late? And he said, well, she have to wait for her babysitter to get there. She don't have nobody to watch her baby. So I said, well, let her go. She can find somebody else that can get there on time for her to get to work. Now, with that same situation that's facing me, say when my brother Kevin came to live with us, I had to be late for work because I had to wait for Judith to come home, the little overlap. So my boss called me in there and say, Charles, you're one of our best workers, but I don't think it's going to work out. You've been late for every day for like the last month. And I said, well, I explained to you why that is. I have to wait for my wife to get home. With the overlap, because somebody needed to be at home with my brother. So he said, well, the same way you told me about this other employee, that you could fix your situation so that you don't be late. See, so now when I'm judging somebody else for their problems, the same judgment came back to me. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mark 10:6-7, please, Brother Rob. Thank you. But from the beginning of time, man created God, male and female. Now, this here is the first marriage. Now, marriage is an important institution for God's plan because he said, go forth and multiply. And we can't do that without being married because we know if we multiply without marriage, that's a sin of fornication. So we need to be married before we even think about having children. So God also said, Proverbs 18:22. He said, he who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains the favor of the Lord. Now, I looked through and through the Bible, and it don't say anything about the woman who finds a husband finds a good thing. So I'm sorry, brothers, we not the good thing. It's all on them. But we can't just find any wife. You don't want to go get that stripper off that pole. You want to get a good wife. With they beautiful. I mean, if you see the clips of these girls in strip clubs, they're absolutely beautiful. But what substance do they have? We want to get a woman with substance. And he tells us what kind of woman to look for. He said, beware of that woman that's promiscuous. He tells us that in Proverbs. He also tells us that it's better off to be alone in the corner of an attic than a full home with a quarrelsome woman. So he's telling us what type of woman to marry. Proverbs 31:10, please, Rob. It say, who can find a virtuous wife, for her worth is far above rubies. Now, in the Bible, rubies is the most valuable gemstone. So that's saying something when he's saying this virtual woman is more than that. Now, this woman here, she has so many good qualities. She, excuse me, y'all. She got good character and virtue. She respects your opinion. She's helpful to her husband, clean the home. She's willing to provide food. She trustworthy. You can trust her not to steal from you, all that. This is what the virtues of that type of woman. She keeps up her appearance, and she's nurturing to the children. That's a virtuous woman. And he tells us how to treat her. Ephesians 5:25. Husbands, love your wife, just as Christ loved the church and gave himself for her. He also goes on to say that treat her right and don't be harsh to her. So if we being harsh to her, he also says our prayers won't be heard. So you can't be harsh to your wife. You can't speak to her mean, can't talk to her nasty, you can't disgrace her. You don't want to talk about her with your friends. When I was at work, people used to do that a lot. They sit in these women they claim they love so much, they would sit and just tear them down. I say, man, ain't this the girl you say you love? Why you tearing her down like this? You know, I tell them I can't join in on this because God blessed me with something good. So now, I can't tear her down. So God expects us to treat them good. And I got a good one. I treat her good. Okay. Proverbs 22:6, please, Rob. Now it says, train them up in the way that they should go. This is speaking of children. Now this is after marriage. Now he wants us to have a man that is under Christ with a woman who is under Christ but respects that he is the lead. And when we start having our children, he wants us to bring them up in the way that they should go. Because this is the key to fixing the world, I think. If everyone would do this, we got a man under God, a woman under God, raising children under God. That's the way to fix the world. All right? Now, I'm almost done, but I want to revisit Pastor's opening when he opened with the speaking about when he asked a question last week and the hands went up. Now, I was in that position when I first started coming to this church. You couldn't get me up here to do nothing, and it was because of fear. I had straight fear. The first time Deacon asked me to pray, I said no, because this church got so many people that can bring the fire. I mean, fire. With other churches that I went to, the people who could really bring it was the pastor, the deacons, and maybe the pastor's wife. Everybody else might go up there and do a little timid prayer and sit down. So I didn't have a problem praying at these churches, but when I came here and I seen the pastors, I expected that from them. But people coming out the congregation and praying, I said, I'm not going up there and pray because I can't match these people, you know. So when Deacon asked me to pray, I said, vehemently no. And it was a long time before he asked me to pray again. But that day, when I was going home, I was feeling bad about not going up and praying. I said, God, do so much for me, but I couldn't at least go up and show my gratitude for him for all he do by praying. So I said, the next time he asked me to pray, I'm going to go up and pray. So he asked me to pray. I came up and prayed, and I was fine. Didn't nobody boo me from back here or nothing. It was fine. So I want to say to the new people, and Deontay, good job. I just want to say to the new people and the people who have never come up here to pray, that's the journey I took. But then I got so comfortable after a while coming up here to pray that I would come up here and run my mouth a little bit before I got to the prayer. And one day I was up here telling a little story. My brother Charles, who is absent today, he did the sermon that day. And he said something that had got me to thinking. So I was up here telling my little story, and I looked up, I was halfway through it, and I know this first lady looking at me. You know, she can look at you like that teacher. You know, when a kid is cutting up in school and she give you that look like you about to get sent to the principal's office. So I said, I'm in trouble. I'm going to get called in the office after I finish praying, and they're going to tell me, look, Charles, you're not Donald Trump when you go up there to pray, stay on message. But I said I'm halfway through it, so ain't no sense in me cutting my story short. And when I got to the end of it, First Lady said, amen, real loud. So I said, okay, I'm good. So when we was going home that day, my wife said, you know what, the way you laid that off, that was like setting up for a sermon. She said, you ought to put something together with that and go up and do something. Pastor will let you. I said, that's not my calling. And she stayed on me for a few days. So she finally gave up because I was serious. I'm not doing that. That's not my calling. So for confirmation, that following Sabbath when we came in here, Pastor and First Lady came in and said, the way you did that, you probably can give a message, put something together with that. So I said, I'm not doing it. And these two are smooth. They was like a WWE tag team. Pastor would shoot his in, then he would tag First Lady in, and she would shoot hers in. And that went on for a couple Sabbaths. So after that, the Father started speaking to me. Asked me, why are you afraid to go up here and serve in my home? So I said, oh, well, how can I say no to the Father? So I said, the next time they ask me to do something, to go up here and give a message, I'm going to put something together. And it was a good while before they asked me. You know, and I knew they was going to ask me, though. I was just waiting. And First Lady had went somewhere, and me and Judith was sitting there drinking some coffee, and she got up and went to the bathroom. So Pastor, I guess he smelled blood in the water, because I was by myself without my backup. He was coming toward me, and it was almost like I could hear the music from Jaws playing as he was walking towards me. So he sat down beside me real smooth, and he broke out in this real smooth dissertation, you know. So I didn't want to interrupt the brother because it was smooth. He was popping it. So I said, I'm going to let him go ahead and complete this because I might need to log this in my database for the next time I'm trying to talk somebody into something. I mean, he was popping it. He would have had my vote if he was a politician. So I came in, and I came in, did my little message. I was nervous. I was scared. But I want everybody to know who haven't come up here that this is not an episode of America's Got Talent. There's no judges panel sitting here. We don't have no judge but one. And when you're serving in his house, you're going to get a perfect 10. Amen.
I feel like I have